Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Launch Your Chest to another fun video. And today we're going to look at one of my games from yesterday, or my only game from yesterday, where I was eating lunch and playing moves while I was eating lunch. So enjoy. So this was a 15 plus a 10-second increment game for both sides, and yeah, let's get into it. So I start out e4. I'm playing white. Black plays e5, knight f3, and knight c6. And I have tried I think I've tried every major try in the book, but the one that I like best is knight c3, the three knights. And basically, um, black should oblige. For example, if black tries anything like bishop c5, they get punished quite quickly, like so. And now the computer response is actually bishop f2, and then capture, capture, and then take over the center. And white is definitely having an edge here because the black knight cannot advance because this and this is still blocked in. So white is doing much better despite the king being quite exposed. So that's why no bishop c5 there. Basically, this is probably the best move. And here there's a couple different ways to play. By the way, I recommend all new players, or intermediate players for that matter, just play this position a lot because it's safe and it's very principled, and this position is super relevant all the way from novice all the way to grandmaster. So it's a universally just fundamental position, and anyone who says it's boring, you're wrong. I'm sorry. You're just wrong. I like to play d4. I like to unbalance the position immediately. Another try is bishop to b5, but I don't really enjoy playing this way, so I play the Scotch variation. Black is obliged to capture, knight captures, and this is what black's main move. Other moves include d6, after which white basically should double the pawns here, and just kind of play as if nothing bad is going on at all, which there's not anything bad going on. But this challenges white a little more. And now this is white's only move, or white's only good move, that for that matter, I think. Black is obliged to capture with the b pawn, as capturing with the d pawn. Uh-oh, the black king is now cannot castle, and there's a lot of ways that white can take advantage of the situation, such as this. So yeah, this is very unpleasant for black. So we just we play this. You shouldn't do anything about this pin. If you try to do something about this pin, and you've traded a g pawn for a e pawn, which is not such a good trade for white. So bishop d3, and this is not so good for black either, even though white has created black has created a structural imbalance with the pawns. It's just not worth giving up the bishop pair. And now white has the bishop pair, which in an open position is going to win against the knight here, or will have an advantage against the knight, I will say. So castle, castle, d5, capture, capture. It's just not so good to do this. Even though this looks quite good, the weaknesses around your king, and black is going to be fighting back very soon as well. I've never been a big fan of this as well. I've always just captured, and we have a pretty balanced position. Bishop g5 to put some pressure on the queen. c6 to keep this pawn protected. Queen f3, putting more pressure on the pinned knight. And that's why black goes back in these situations to cover this pinned knight so that he doesn't suffer the structural imbalance. For example, this, and black's just going to have a hard time doing things with this horse, because now this structure is going to be very bad for black because it's in front of his king. So queen f3, bishop e7, rook e1, rook e8, h3. Now this is an important move. If you played something like this, there's also ideas where black can just gain a tempo immediately. So we're just going to prevent that tempo gaining move immediately. Rook b8, sniping down this pawn. I've never seen anything. I haven't seen an argument yet in practice for anything other than rook a b1. Well, there are some lines where you actually can sacrifice this b2 pawn, but I have not delved into those ideas very much, because I just think I always go for the solid option. Bishop e6, bishop f4. I realize that I'm not going to gain too much by taking this, so I'm just going to take a tempo on the rook b7, and then g4. Basically, I saw all of these guys pointed in this direction, so I was like, I'm just going to play on this side. But this is actually a little inaccurate. The better move is actually a3 to prevent maybe some bishop b4 ideas, and still keep the game in relative balance. And yeah, from here there's lots of cool games from here. So I actually forgot this move in the game, but I will not forget this move anymore. But I went for this kingside attack because I saw all my pieces are just pointed in this direction, and then I can have a rook lift idea. I have get my knight into the play, so I have plans to get all my pieces to the kingside. So that's what I thought was right. Bishop here, bishop back, h6, and basically I did a little dance, and they immediately suffer the structural imbalance. Basically, I knew immediately before I even moved the bishop that I was going to capture this. And after bishop e7, I was not quite so sure what I was going to do. Maybe play something like a3, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe even get my knight to this area of the board. But yeah, the game didn't go that way, so black actually suffers the structural imbalance. I did not agree with trading queens there for black, because fewer pieces on the board, meaning I can trade what I need to trade and basically target the weaknesses. So how do I actually target the weaknesses here? So basically I need to shift my knight to this side of the board and just attack the weakness. And that's what I did. Knight e2, c5, threatening c4, of course, knight g3, c4, and then bishop f1 may have also been a little bit hasty, but I decided just I wanted to snipe this pawn, try to snipe this weak point here, and this would be a pin. So I thought this was a good idea. I thought for sure that black was going to do something like this, just give up the bishop pair, and this is quite equal, I think, because of the white's structure. Each side's pawn structure imbalances are quite cancel each other out, and it's still a fight. Rook e7, and that's when I hit the trigger and decided to just target the weaknesses. So knight on the rim is dim, except when it's performing a function. A lot of people don't remember that. So they just say, oh, knight on the rim is bad, but it's really not here because I'm targeting the weakness, And here I should have found I actually just hopped the gun with f4, but I actually should have prepared it with king h1 and then f4, because then he will lose the pawn immediately. And because of this outpost, I have a very dominating position. So I'm just going to leave it here because this is kind of pretty. How the knight is just dominating on the 5th rank. And hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed.